Hey guys, Anthony here, Bibles and Barbells. It's Tuesday, October 13th, 2020. We're moving closer to the election. We're seeing things heat up across the nation. We're seeing things heat up within our government. And we're seeing so much that, it goes beyond description what's going on in this country. But today I want to focus on an economic article, and it's entitled "As Goes New York City, So Goes the USA." It's by the Trends Research Institute. If you guys have heard me talk about them on my channel, you need to subscribe to them. I think it's $125 a year. Gerald Salenti is the gentleman that runs it. They're spot on with a lot of their trends and their forecasts. They've been spot on since I've been following them. They don't mix, politics. They look at sheer numbers and facts. That's what I like. And so as this article goes, and some of you may not know, some new subscribers, I'm originally from New York, born and raised there. Was born in the Bronx, grew up in Yonkers, New York, and in Westchester County, and then later in Harrison, New York, a beautiful town. Bedroom community situated in Westchester County, founded in, I think, 1696. Tons of history up in that part of the country. And I left there in 94, relocated my family to Pittsburgh for some personal reasons. That's another video. Lived in Pittsburgh for just over 7 years, 2001, 94 to 2001. Moved to Florida, spent 17 years in the Miami, Fort Lauderdale area of Florida. Came back here to Charlotte in 2017, the Charlotte area, North South Carolina area here, and have been here ever since. I like it. I do miss Florida. So this is where we are now. And at 57 plus years of age, I have never witnessed what I've been witnessing going on this year, particularly through, let's call it through from January through now. So almost a year has been I'm totally shocked at what I've seen and what I've witnessed. The destruction, the death, the political corruption, the economic upheaval, the world economic upheaval. And so a lot of people, a lot of forecasters look at New York City as like a barometer for the USA. And that's what this article by the Trends Research Institute focuses on. It's dated October 6th. Again, when you subscribe to the Trends Journal, they come out every Tuesday with a new electronic online magazine with all the articles, all the trends that they're covering. They've even got like a prepper self-defense article they put in once a week. They've got a lot of financial data, a lot of COVID data, real COVID data, the data that really counts, not the one you're being sold in the media. So let's look at this article because I think it says a lot about where we're headed as a country, as a nation. New York City has been pushed into the economic death spiral by the state's Governor Andrew Cuomo and Mayor Bill de Blasio. Those of you know those two have been in the news a while. In fact, Cuomo's being touted as being selected as Attorney General for the Democrats if they win the election. So they both imposed tyrannical restrictions on New York, and I have most of my family there, so I could account and attest to that. That has been the fact, that has been the case. Having destroyed thousands of businesses and hundreds of thousands of lives, their lockdown rules have served as a powerful sedative for the city that never sleeps, which is now slipping into a coma. And this is a city where, my wife and I would meet before we were married. We'd meet down there. I was working in the city. I commuted to the city for several years. We'd meet there for dinner or for lunch. She'd take the train in. I'd meet her at Grand Central Station. It was just a wonderful time. We'd go shopping. I'd buy her a Christmas gift every year down there. We would attend when the World Trade Center was up before it was blown up, before September 11th, 2001. We would meet and go to the top, very often to the top of the World Trade Center, to the restaurant there, have dinner, for her birthday, whatever the event was. Or we'd go over to Wall Street, down the wharf there, the port where all the seafood restaurants are. We'd hang out. So just a beautiful, my memories of New York have been great. I mean, working there in the city, seen so many things. It was crazy back then, but not, it was vibrant. It was the hustle and bustle. Times Square was beautiful, packed with tourists. And here in this article, you're going to see, and if you're from New York, and if you've ever lived there, you could see how sad it is to hear that and to see that tyrannical leadership, what they can do in such a short amount of time is really mind-boggling. From Wall Street to Times Square, the article goes on, from Broadway to the Meatpacking District, East Side, West Side, all around town. The light fantastic on the sidewalks of New York are burned out. There's no dancing in the street. Midtown is no town, dead and empty. Bars are barren. Broadway is locked down. Restaurants are closed. Stores are boarded up. Hotels closing down. Tourists are gone. Homicides are skyrocketing. From uptown to downtown, homeless fill the streets. Unlike the bounce back after the panic of 2008 and beyond, the economically devastating lockdown rules, another prime reason there will be no big rebound in the alteration of securing trading laws. In the past, stocks could not legally be traded outside of Lower Manhattan. So in previous eras, when New York City fell on hard times, finance provided the anchor for the tax base. Since the restrictions were imposed, finance has steadily fled the island for more tax-friendly locations, and this time they have left for good. Not only are the tax benefits attractive elsewhere, but since the politicians have beaten the joy and energy out of the city, it no longer has the dynamic energy that earned it the title, the center of the world. From coast to coast, east to west, Manhattan was a status symbol of America. Thus, as we analyze the current events forming future trends, as goes New York City, so does America. Pay attention, guys. This is important stuff here. The following are some of the facts and hard data that portend dark times ahead for the once bustling and great New York City. Remember the title of this article. Half of New York City bars and restaurants may disappear. Half of New York City's 24,000 bars and restaurants may close permanently as a result of the economic shutdown, according to a report from Thomas DiNapoli, the New York State Comptroller. These businesses employed 318,000 people before the pandemic, but only 91,000 are still working in April, the report said. The number has since risen to 174,000, but remains barely half of the sector's workforce at full strength. About 44% of the city's restaurant workers are Hispanic, the report noted, meaning that Hispanic neighborhoods in the city and the surrounding areas have been particularly damaged by the shutdown. The devastation is clear, DiNapoli said. About a third of the city's restaurants and half of its bars that were open in February remain closed now. Half of the city's restaurants and half of its bars that were open this past February 2020 still remain closed now, as an analysis of credit card data shows. In a worst-case scenario, half of eateries will close permanently by next September, several studies have calculated. Time running out for Times Square. While some areas of New York City have seen the beginnings of an economic recovery, even if temporary, the fabled Times Square has been left out. The area is heavily dependent on tourists, but in August, only 87,219 visitors passed through Times Square, compared to 404,181 in August 2019, and 50 million in all of 2017, according to city data. So that has a devastating effect on the city. That Times Square area brings in so much revenue. Broadway theaters, the neighborhood's $1.8 billion economic engine that sold 14 million tickets last year, are closed until January at least, leaving at least 33,000 people out of work. The square's businesses also rely on office commuters. Only 10% of office workers have returned to the city, and the district's retail vacancy rates are the city's highest. Almost 25% of the shops were available for lease during the second quarter. The Times Square economy had generated $58 billion of economic activity in 2016 and accounted for 15% of the city's entire GDP, according to a study for the nonprofit Times Square Alliance. As commuters and businesses desert the area, burglars and homeless have moved in, sparking worry the area is in a tailspin. Others see the closing of tourist-oriented businesses as a way to make the square a mecca for city residents, perhaps converting some closed hotels to apartments and casting more streets as pedestrian-only boulevards. Without a Times Square recovery, New York is unlikely to truly recover, the New York Times commented in a recent article. Bankruptcies surge 40% in New York City. More than 6,000 New York City businesses have closed since the pandemic arrived, 4,000 of them permanently, according to the review website Yelp. As a result, 610,000 commercial bankruptcies were filed in the city from March 16th through 27 September, a 40% increase over the same rate last year. Bloomberg reported, and far more than in any area since the Great Recession. When temperatures regularly fall below 60 degrees, 25 to 50% of restaurants in New York City will not come back, predicted restaurant consultant Vin McMahon. In September, a group of the city's eateries filed a class action suit against New York, claiming a $2 billion in damages on behalf of the city's 24,000 bars and restaurants. Is it sinking in how much of a devastation this lockdown has caused? Only about 15% of office workers have returned to their downtown suites, and retail and real estate will continue to decline until you can reignite office traffic, said Joseph Malfitano, a bankruptcy counselor. These are all specialists in their areas of expertise, guys. These are the real facts, not the bullcrap that you're hearing on CNN and Fox News, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, the V-shaped recovery that everyone's talking about, all the paid pundits. That's not happening. The opposite is happening. By late fall, there will be an avalanche of bankruptcies, said Al Tug, a bankruptcy lawyer. When the cold weather comes, that's when we'll start to see a surge. That's because now restaurants, a lot of them are surviving barely by having people eat outside, in order to keep them socially distanced. When the cold weather comes, what's going to happen? Nobody's going to be able to eat outside. The number of Manhattan apartment sales fell 46% in the third quarter, leaving 10,000 flats vacant as urbanites fled to outlying areas in Florida, according to the reports by real estate agencies. In September, home sales rose 76% in the Hamptons on Long Island, 56% in Westchester County, that's where I'm from, and 36% in Connecticut's Fairfield County. In Florida, signed contracts rose 62% in Palm Beach County and 21% in Miami-Dade. Manhattan apartments that were sold were discounted on an average of 9%, almost double the 5% that pertained last year. New York faced a glut of luxury apartments before the pandemic and economic shutdown, and have more than dumped onto the market since, and more have been dumped onto the market since. A typical price of a Manhattan flat is about 25% lower than at the peak in 2015 and 2016, which is likely to lure buyers, said Jonathan Miller, CEO of Miller Samuel, a real estate consulting firm. As people leave the city and tax base shrinks, remaining residents will be called on to fill the budget gap and face reduced services, perhaps leading to less frequent garbage pickup, rising crime, and other quality of life deficits. That prospect could make potential buyers hesitate. I don't see an improvement in the market in the fourth quarter, but we could see notable improvement in 2021, Miller said. Okay, that's his prediction. Mounting business failures. 2/3 of its hotel rooms are empty. A $2 billion loss of income tax revenue from residents this year. A 16% unemployment rate, twice the national pace, and 44% rate among restaurant and hotel workers. That's almost 50% of that niche industry. New York City is facing a financial crisis unparalleled since the 70s. The city's forecast to lose $9 billion in overall revenue this year, more than 10% of its annual $86 billion budget. The city gains most of its revenues from taxes on income, real estate, and retail sales. So you can see why that's falling so much, because people are fleeing. Businesses are closed shut. Nobody's coming. Tourists aren't coming. All are in a tailspin. Income tax collections fell 11% during September's second week and fifth consecutive week of shrinking revenues. August's apartment vacancy rate in Manhattan rose above 5% for the first time, leaving many landlords, especially smaller ones, struggling to pay their property taxes. The owner of the historic Flatiron building, desperate to hold a tenant, offered the company free rent until 2021. The company declined, expecting it could find an even better deal elsewhere. The value of the Empire State Realty Trust, which owns the iconic Empire State Building, has fallen by half this year. Sales tax revenue dropped 35% in the second quarter and is down 15% on year to date. With tourists and commuters gone, cornerstones of the city's retail corridors also have vanished. Brooks Brothers, Neiman Marcus are bankrupt. Macy's is concentrating on its suburban stores. The smaller stores are fleeing empty streets and still astronomical rents. New York State, coping with its own $14 billion budget hole, has offered the city no help. Now the administration of Mayor Bill de Blasio is petitioning the state for permission to borrow a $5 billion over 30 years from other lenders. So he destroys the city and then wants to borrow billions to what? Waste or put it back together? What do you want to do, Bill de Blasio? What's your goal? What's your plan? This is the end of the article here. Some analysts say the arrangement would not permanently solve the city's fiscal woes, but only delay the inevitable layoff of as many as 22,000 municipal workers and drastic cuts to city services. Critics complain that de Blasio lagged far behind the crisis in offering plans to meet the fiscal shortfall. And that's the end of the article. De Blasio lagged far behind because it was a planned lagging. He reports to other people that want to see this economic collapse, this devastation of our country. They want to see it come to fruition. They want to see it come to pass. But let's save that for another video. I think it's pretty clear from this article that New York is going down the tubes. The USA could soon follow if there's not some kind of miracle, if people just don't gather together and come up with something to bypass this devastating lockdown that's been cast upon us. We have to do something, guys. Please comment. Let me know your thoughts, your concerns. Let me know what part of the country maybe you live in and what you're seeing. Again, New York City, like this article says, is a big barometer of what goes. That's why it says as goes New York City, so goes the USA. So guys, stay ready, stay vigilant. Be careful out there. Lots of little things going on. There's lots of things in the air that I could sense that we're going to see some really trying times in the next couple of weeks and beyond. It's going to really test our resolve as a nation and see if we could stay together or tear apart. Please comment, like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. More videos to come. Anthony signing off. Stay ready. God bless.